Love is the Answer series to an end. I cannot believe I ended up 2 whole weeks behind schedule with this. But it's all good, not to fret. I hope you guys are well today. I am amazing today. It got the nerve to be 65 degrees and sunny and perfect in New York today. I literally woke up smiling because that's just what the sun does to me. The birds came out to play this morning. Spring is in the air, and I am so happy. We have already sprung forward, and I think this week, or today, what's today? Next week begins like the first day of spring or something like that. I don't know. This week, next week, today is a whole vibe. That's all I know. Today is an entire vibe. After I am done chatting with you guys, I've never been so chatty in my life, but after I'm done chatting with you guys, I am heading over to the park. Heading to the park just really to be and to vibe out, listen to some music, possibly do some writing, but mostly to just reflect and give thanks. Thanks for being able to truly be able to enjoy and experience such a beautiful day. Thanks for God's love, because God is love. Yeah, welcome to episode 9, folks. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. Operation Vibe Out in the park today. I'm really excited about going to the park, you guys. As I've gotten older, I have grown to really love being outdoors so much, but there is a specific reason why today it's like a must for me to like have this experience in the park. So on May 15th, 2015, I sat on a bench and had breakfast in Pelham Bay Park. And Pelham Bay Park, I think, is the biggest park in the Bronx. And I used to live right in that area. The park was in walking distance from the building that I lived in, and there was a diner that was like right down the street. I used to go there all the time and journal and have breakfast like almost every day. So at this particular time, May 15th, when I'm sitting having lunch on this, or having breakfast on this park bench, I actually wasn't living in the area anymore or in that building. I had just moved from there at the beginning of the month. And my current living situation at the time was just crazy. During this time, I would just get up and get out upon waking up in the morning. Every day I did this because I didn't want to be in that house. It was super draining. It was depressing. I hate to say that. I hate to say that because the way the situation unfolded, the people that I ended up living with, they in that situation were such a blessing. But the living situation was, anywho, yeah, so that morning I got up, I just threw on some clothes, I left out, and I just started to drive, and I ended up at that diner. And I don't know, I decided to grab carryout and eat at the park because it was such a nice day that day, or such a beautiful morning, I should say, very similar to this morning. And I sat on that bench, earphones in, enjoying my little music. I'm sure 90s R&B on Pandora, my breakfast, egg white spinach omelet with home fries all the time, every day. And just the nature, the nature around me. I remember the sun was like very in and out that day. There was a fabulous breeze. I wrote that. This was my journal at that time, and I wrote in here in that moment that God must love me extra today for allowing me to feel this full of life so early in the morning. And I thought that wasn't that such a beautiful thing to have like a like a recollection, or not a recollection, Jesus, a realization of. I thought that, I read that and I was like, wow, that is really beautiful. According to what was written, I felt very humbled and like high spiritually. I was happy and I had like smiled so much just like in that little moment of like just being and sitting in that park, and I didn't want to leave. It was, what did I say? I said that the only thing keeping me sane is this park and this book. And I said that because my current situation or whatever circumstance was like very much so like the opposite of like what that experience was, you know, in that moment. I remember that day like it was yesterday. I told you guys in the last episode, like I remember everything that I write about. And what I remember specifically about that day was how beautiful it was. Like that's what I specifically remember about that day. It was early. It was earlier. So like it wasn't really hot. And no one was like outside yet, or at least no one was at the park. Everything, I keep saying in that moment because I don't really remember how the rest of the day went. I just remember what I wrote. But everything in that moment was like light and easy. It was like birds chirping in the morning. That's what I imagine it feeling like, birds chirping in the morning. And I say that because I know how the sound of birds chirping makes me feel. Like that is a very pleasurable sound for me. Like just humor me for 2 seconds if you don't mind. If you just close your eyes and just imagine waking up to the sound of birds chirping and like the sun beaming through your window, which is something that I'm sure we've all experienced before. Take 2 seconds to just think about that, to imagine it. Like, doesn't that just instantly bring a smile to your face, give you like this sense of gratitude and this sense of peace? Yes, that is love. That's God's love. You know what really amazes me? Is when I look back and I see where God was working in me, like speaking to me and putting his word in my heart when I didn't even know his word like that. Back when I was struggling so much to get it, back when the desire was really strong, but I was just like completely overwhelmed, too overwhelmed, and I just quit because that definitely happened. You know, he was working in me even then. And yo, that is love. That's real love. That's God's love. God is love, people. And that is clear. That's been made clear. I mean, consider what love is, right? Love is patient and it's kind. It's not prideful. It doesn't demand its own way. Love is not irritable or envious, all right? Love is always hopeful and it doesn't give up. Love is just everything that I was experiencing that day, in that moment, God's love. Do you feel me on that? Back then, in all the ways that I struggled to grow and to know, God must really love me extra today. You know what I mean? Like I guess I know a little something to have that, you know, realization. I didn't know what I knew, but I knew something, you know, I knew. So I want to back up a little bit and just speak on how the Love is the Answer series even came about. So this episode, God is Love, was actually the first episode that came to mind when I decided to do this series, and I like just decided to work my way backward. When this episode came to mind, that's when I was like becoming more and more aware of just how short life is. And not that I didn't know before, but you know, like a lot of us, we kind of just, we flow through life, never taking a second to look back. And when that happens, it's so easy to forget. I truly have to thank God for I consider this a gift, the gift of writing and journaling. And I eventually want to record an episode about that, about the importance of writing and the benefits of keeping a journal, because it's helped mold me so much, mostly due to, I think, being able to look back and reflect. Legitimately, the only reason I find taking the time out to chill in the park today like an obvious thing to do was because I was able to go back and clearly see how much a beautiful day in the park lifted me. It put me at ease. It allowed me to like exude like this great sense of gratitude, and it was freeing. like all these amazing vibes simply because it was a beautiful day. I sat in the park and I allowed myself to just be. Now, obviously, I didn't just look back on that today. Thank God I realized this a while ago, so that, like now these type of mornings just equate to that for me. You know what I mean? Like, are you going to be 65 degrees and sunny? Say no more, it's lit. Like I know exactly what this morning is about to consist of. If you knew specifically what gave you that type of feeling, that type of high, and you had the opportunity to relive it, to experience it again, wouldn't you do it every single time? Of course you would. I can answer that for you, of course you would. But I thought though, what if I just wrote that in that moment and never looked back, just flowed with life, and like everything that came with it? There's no doubt in my mind that would have slipped. You know what I mean? Because I don't remember the things that I journal until I go back and see it. Like throughout my daily life and activities, like those things aren't on my mind. I don't even remember what I journaled yesterday. You know what I mean? Because it's today now. But I am very intentional about going back every once in a while, more than every once in a while. For me, it's extremely necessary because it's so easy to lose sight, like of the vital things that we may unintentionally be deeming insignificant in that moment. It serves as a reminder of how far I've come, the things I need to let go of, the things I need to hold on to, the moments that I need to cherish more. I can get remedy for sadness, a solution to bring hope in the midst of darkness. I one day went back and read an entry about how I went back and read an entry. It was great. Anyway, I say all that to say, we don't dwell on or live in our past, of course. That's silly, right? But if we just keep going, without ever taking a second to look back and at least acknowledge it, we are really, really, really doing ourselves a disservice. We will go on never forgiving. We'll go on holding on to grudges, bitter, repeating the same bad habits, putting ourselves first, leading with our ego over one mistake, one disagreement, one misunderstanding. We won't even take an opportunity to listen, or even try to understand. Then later down the line, talk about, I don't know why I don't like her, I just know I don't like her. That is not love. I repeat, that is not love. That is the very opposite. And, I get it. Some things are valid, fine. So don't take this out of context, but let's be real with ourselves that a lot of things that we are upset about, that we are mad about, they do not matter. They do not matter. We know we're wrong, but we're too prideful to apologize. We don't ever make a mistake, so we can't forgive. Love keeps no record of being wronged. Just read 1 Corinthians 13, the entire chapter. The ending is very clear. 3 things last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of the 3 is love. And we already know, how much God loved us, so much so that he sent his son to be the savior of the entire world. But be clear, we think we have all this time, but we do not. We don't. Our time is expiring, and it's expiring quickly. You see it. People are dying without ailment, you know what I mean? Over silliness, over bitterness, over jealousy. I've seen it. Healthy, young, active men and women are sick, like randomly, life-threatening sick. I've seen it. People that I've gone to school with, you know what I mean? Coming from where I come from especially, we're always in this position of like, oh, I was just with him the other day. I just saw him last week. You know what I mean? If it wasn't real before, I'm sure it is, especially now, that we can never be in a position of, it can never happen to me, because it can. It can be any of us at any given time. And have we taken a look at how we're living? You know what I mean? Angry, mean, always putting ourselves first, so quick to react, money driven. I'm gonna read this even though you guys know I prefer to like put it up so you guys can read it on your own, and maybe one day, I'll get more, comfortable doing this. But if there were any way for me to like exhibit love today, this would be it. 1 Peter 4:7-8 says this: "The end of the world is coming soon. Therefore, be earnest and disciplined in all your prayers. Most important of all, continue to show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins." Why you mad? Love is the main thing that God wanted us to display. Love is the answer. It says it. Most of the things that we're, whatever about, love makes up for it. Remember that. So before I get out of here and head to this park, you guys, I can't not mention Nipsey Hussle. He is one of the main reasons that I started not this series, but this particular episode. His passing hit myself and a lot of others around me extremely hard. And a lot of us weren't even fully aware, of his movement, of his voice, and what he stood for until he passed, which is extremely unfortunate. And it was really weird because, of course I've experienced death before, and even with a celebrity, a lot of times it hits, but it was really weird how like deeply this one hit and how much it affected me. I was really just in my life flow when this happened, when he passed, and it caused me to really stop and reflect on my own life, about the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm saying, what I believe, how I'm using my voice, giving back, and just being intentional about the way that I'm walking. And it all brought me back to something so simple, which is love. Define what that means to you, and walk and exhibit that on a daily basis before it's too late. Use your voice, take action, stop and smell the roses, or just sit on a park bench and give thanks. Be the one to extend an apology, even if it isn't accepted. Be the one to forgive, even if an apology isn't extended to you. Be patient, be kind, lose your ego, you know what I mean? Share your gifts with the world, stand for something, and leave a legacy, for your children and the generation up under you, the generation to follow you. Try to be intentional about it, and don't let the world distract you from walking in and with love. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on this Love is the Answer series. It's finally come to an end, but I enjoyed everything about it. Please don't forget, embrace vulnerability and share your stories by commenting below. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to share it with a friend. And I think that is it for today, you guys, with so much love.